Are you a prepper or homesteader looking to connect with like-minded people in your area? Looking to start your own preparedness group? Already have a group? Well, look no further than PrepperNet. PrepperNet is dedicated to personal responsibility, individual freedoms, and being self-reliant. PrepperNet has monthly meetings in over 100 cities where you can meet and learn with like-minded people in your area. PrepperNet, where preppers unite. Find us online at preppernet.com.
Survive, thrive, stay alive. It's time to get prepared with the Prepping Academy podcast.
All right, welcome to the Prepping Academy. I am Forrest. We have Uncle Buck in the house.
Hello.
He's sounding good too. He's sounding deep and clear. That's awesome.
It's the microphone. It's all the microphone.
All in the microphone. No skills. just
the mic, just the technology.
Just the technology. Oh goodness. So hey, before we get started, like, subscribe, just tell everyone. I mean, just literally walk up to random people and tell them about our podcast.
Yes. It's totally safe.
Absolutely. So how you doing?
Man, I'm good. Had some technical issues, trying to jump onto this thing earlier, that link that said the Nigerian prince was going to give me $10 million. I clicked on it. I don't know what the hell happened.
Well, I just need your account information first.
That's it. That's all. That's it. And then they'll wire it directly to my checking account. I was like, man, he seemed like a believable guy online.
Well, you have to pay the $500 fee first.
That's right.
Before you can send it.
That's right. Yeah, good, man. I mean, lots of we had the weekend trip, so did some camping and stuff like that with some of the crew. So yeah, it was good. I mean,
awesome.
Put a lot of miles on the legs. It was good.
Very nice. How
about you, man?
Man, it was kind of my wife and I, we go grocery shopping, on Saturday morning. That's our big thing. You got to have food. And then, it rained on Sunday, so I don't normally watch football. The only time I'll really watch professional football is when it gets to the playoffs. And I just don't like professional football. As I get older, the less I like sports, I guess. Except college football. You can't beat college football.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, I got out of it too. I used to be a big NBA guy. Like I loved NBA, loved it for like decades. And then I don't know. It just, when sports started getting too political, that's when I'm just like, I'm not paying attention to it anymore. I pay attention to it a lot less now.
So we're big fans of curling. That's it. That's the sport, man.
Curling and water polo.
Curling and water polo. But yeah, I didn't go hiking like you and some others, but yeah, good weekend. It's gosh, I can't think of anything else I did. That's a bummer when your weekend. It was a relaxing weekend then.
Yeah. You ever see what is it? Old School? You ever seen the movie Old School? Will Ferrell?
Yes.
Immediately, as soon as you started saying grocery shopping in the morning with my wife, I was like, maybe some Bed Bath and Beyond, maybe some Home Depot. I don't know if I'll have enough time.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Oh goodness. So, this is I don't know how many podcasts we've done, but it's been. I just want to tell you, you're doing a marvelous job.
Thanks, man. So are you. Great
you are.
Job.
I mean, you're like. I mean, I think Joe Rogan needs to watch out. We're coming. Definitely coming.
10 to 15 more years. 10 to 15 more years. We're going to get there.
And about $40 million.
Yeah.
Because I got to get trained and, all this stuff. So,
yep.
So tonight is going to be kind of interesting. We actually have some live guests with us. They're in the green room, just fidgeting. One's cleaning up their house. The other one's just sitting there like she knows what she's doing. But, so Prepping Academy is going to launch another podcast of women. What do you think of that?
I think it's awesome.
I think it is too.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's stuff that, we do here at the house, taking them to, some of the prepper camps and taking my kids and wife to it. I mean, it's just, there's some confidence building that goes along with being self-reliant, particularly as, as a male or female, but particularly as a female. I mean, that's stuff that I want to instill in my kids as well.
So I follow, I don't know, probably 25, 30 podcasts. And I was thinking the other day, why aren't any of these podcasts women based or, women produced? And they're not. There's only two podcasts I know that even has a woman on there. And one is Glenn Tate and Shelby, Prepping 2.0. And other than that, I can't. The Ever Changing Earth. Gosh, I forgot her name, but Chin is on that podcast. That's the only two. And so we think it's so important that women are heard and share and communicate. And they're we're gonna bring them on right now. They, everyone has these pseudonyms, these names except me. I wasn't smart enough to come up with a name like Batman or something like that. But we do have Preppy Squirrel and PrepperNet Patty in the house.
Also known as Bigfoot.
I have another nickname. I'm up to like 10 nicknames now, but
yeah, that's all good.
That is awesome. But both of these ladies are members of PrepperNet, and I've known them at least for a few years. And how it all started one night, I think I was talking to PrepperNet Patty and said, "Hey, you need to do a podcast." And of course, no. I mean, she said no for weeks. And then I said, "Well, you just need a co-host." She goes, "Well, I don't like to talk a lot." And I said, "Well, you need to get someone that can talk, someone that is good." And I think I came up with the idea of Preppy Squirrel, or was that you, Beth?
I don't remember which of us did. Maybe it was a mutual thought.
And so now we have Preppy Squirrel. We're going to put them two together. They're going to go like cats and dogs and see. No, I'm kidding. So introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself and, where you're from, all the awards you've won in your life, and where you expect to be when you get older.
Well, is this a job interview? Because I thought I already had a job.
Yeah.
That volunteer job I've got.
So go ahead, Patty.
I've been with PrepperNet since maybe 2016, 2017, something like that. You started in 2014, right?
Yes.
Okay. With the Charlotte group, and met lots of great people through the monthly meetups. Been prepping and training and going to classes and doing all that stuff for years, and just being super involved with PrepperNet. And it's been an awesome journey.
And I conned you to be the city leader, didn't I?
So I'm trying to remember how that happened.
I don't know either.
COVID came, our city leaders kind of disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
I started the Azteca group for eating dinner.
Oh, yeah.
And then somebody in there, I don't know if it was you, said maybe we should start meetings. So I agreed to be the interim city leader. And after about a year and a half, I think I dropped the name, the interim part. But
that's the way things. Yeah,
this is year 3 of city leader.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks.
And Preppy Squirrel.
I think I was involved with PrepperNet the year before the first bug out camp. So whatever year that was, so it was still CPN.
Okay. Yeah. That was 2015 or 16. Yeah.
Okay. So it's been that long. Wow.
Well, I think I went to PrepperNet in 17.
Okay.
We've had 6 years of bug outs. We're in bug out camp 6.
Yeah.
So 6 years.
Hey, let's take a quick break.
Are you a prepper or homesteader looking to connect with like-minded people in your area? Looking to start your own preparedness group? Already have a group? Well, look no further than PrepperNet. PrepperNet is dedicated to personal responsibility, individual freedoms, and being self-reliant. PrepperNet has monthly meetings in over 100 cities where you can meet and learn with like-minded people in your area. PrepperNet, where preppers unite. Find us online at preppernet.com.
Yeah, so the first meeting that I went to was over in Saluda. There was a group meeting in Saluda at the time. Yeah. So.
Yep. And and both you are nuclear engineers, and you right?
No.
Well, I had a career and gave that up when I became a mother, and now my daughter has graduated college.
And you're confused.
and I'm confused, figuring out what's the next step, and happy to be using my time to help other people get prepared, and working with the sisterhood, and we can talk about that some too.
Well, tell us how long you've been prepping and preparing, and what's your specialty? And then, Uncle Buck, you can jump in anytime here.
Oh yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. I got a few questions.
Go ahead first, Preppy Squirrel.
Well, as far as like careers, I had quite a few, different. I've had to reinvent myself every so many years, depending on what family needs were and everything. So I worked for the post office for a while. I worked for a law firm. I ran my own business for 12 years as a computer repair, small office, home office consultant. That was probably the most enjoyable work I did, because in addition to working, I also helped people prepare. I tried to convince people to have backup systems and, redundant hard drives and things like that to make their business go through little glitches easier. And so I was kind of prepping in a way even then. And as a mail carrier, I had to be prepared because the rural route that I drove was pretty rough. I drove on roads that were actually hewn from stone and single lane, and you had to be ready to change a lot of tires and deal with all kinds of, hornets and snakes and horses that were trying to bite your hands while you're putting mail in the box and all kinds of things. So, there were a lot of opportunities to gain preparedness skills or mindset, just in some of my jobs. And then when I became a mother, that is when it probably flipped into overdrive. So there was a particular event that, and when it's time, I'll mention that. But there was a particular event that really opened my eyes to the need to be prepared.
So I'm curious about, and we'll get to PrepperNet Patty here, but that's the that trigger point, right, for both you and PrepperNet Patty. I'm gonna have a hard time saying that name. But when was the defining, like, the trigger point of, hey, I gotta take things a little bit more serious. I got to become more self-reliant. Like, what was that thing that occurred that kind of tipped the scale for you?
I was living in an area in the Jacksonville, Florida area, in the general greater Jacksonville area. And there's several military bases there. At that time, there were 3 Navy bases and a Coast Guard station, 2 Coast Guard stations. So one little tiny one that most people don't know is there. But anyhow, it wasn't too long after 9/11. Actually, it was like, I'm going to ballpark here, 6 to 8 months later. I was driving into town. At that time, I was building up my business, and I was also doing anyway, I was working for other people, running their errands, basically. I had my daughter, and I was taking some paperwork into downtown Jacksonville, and I needed to buy gas. And I thought to myself, because I was experienced driving in Jacksonville traffic, because I've been a courier for many years for law firms and stuff. And so I thought to myself, oh, if I wait and get gas on the way home, I can get in and out of there before X and Y, Z intersection gets crowded and da-da-da. So I made that bad choice. And I went into Jacksonville, got the paperwork, and I, just as planned, I was getting out of there before the crowd. And it was going to work. But while I was standing in this one office, watching how great the time was going, the power went out. And the guy said, apologize, I'll have to mail this to you. And I said, okay, great. I got in my car and I headed back out of town, not thinking much of it because we're accustomed to Jacksonville Electric Authority going out. And I'm driving out of town and I come up over this one overpass and I can see that the expressway up ahead is already backed up. And I'm like, well, this is majorly wrong. And I'm looking at my gas gauge, which is like breathing fumes. And I made 5 lane changes and got off onto US 1, which is going to take me into, secondary roads and neighborhoods and stuff like that. Well, I go to get gas and all the gas stations are without power. And there's already, and this is 4:45 on a Friday. So they picked a really good time to do this. And you'll understand that statement in a minute. So I pull it up, I see these gas stations, and I'm not the only one on fumes because there's already every parking space at every convenience store, every gas station has somebody in it. The entrances into the gas stations are overflowing with cars. People are parking on the grass. Everybody's just at a standstill knowing they're going to have to buy their gas before they can go home from work on this Friday afternoon. And so I thought, okay, I need to do something different. So I turned around and went back to this one, like a small mobile home park that had RVers in it. And I drove back a couple of miles to there, and I started asking the RVers, does anybody got a tank of gas I can buy? And this one man had a couple of a few jerry cans or whatever they're called, the 5-gallon metal containers. And so I bought the contents of one of those from him out from under a big diesel bus. Why he had those under a diesel, I don't know, but okay, I was really happy. So I got my gas and then I zigged and zagged and got myself home. But Jacksonville was without power for parts of it a couple of days, some outlying areas a week. And what had happened is 5 or 6 simultaneous accidents had occurred coincidentally that took out poles that had transformers on them. And somehow that overflowed all the routing systems or whatever they have to overflow. And it overflowed and caused some of those charger stations or whatever they're called to blow up. And a lot of equipment blew out, big equipment blew out throughout the Jacksonville area.
Wow.
And I felt like it was a test at the time. I felt like it was a test. You don't have 5 vehicles accidentally run into telephone poles with transformers on them simultaneously, by accident. Right. So I always thought that was an infrastructure test to see, what it would take. And anyhow, I could have gotten trapped on that stretch of road had I not made 5 lane changes and got off. And I wouldn't have had enough stuff with me to make that as pleasant as it could have been. So I really started carrying a lot more things in my car, and because I would have been stuck in traffic without gas for who knows how long. I would have run out of gas, and I would have been, I had probably a 1-year-old, let's just say. So wow. That would have been miserable. I mean, I had stuff in the diaper bag; it would have been enough for the baby, but for me, it would have been miserable. And who knows? So I started having a car bag at that point, and I started carrying more things and being much more cautious about where my gas tank is. And, that was just, a real eye opener. It really changed a lot of habits for me.
I will have to say that I would have never thought about going to buy gas from other individuals. And matter of fact, that's the first time I even thought about it, because if you sit there and wait in that gas line, it's going to take a while to get gas. You might not get gas till tomorrow or the next day. So that's
resourceful, right? Like it's incredibly resourceful. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, you do what you gotta do.
Yeah. How about you, PNP? We'll just have to go PNP. We'll do an abbreviation.
wait. I mean, wait a second. Preppy Squirrel, that is amazing. I mean, that now in my mind is just, it blows me away. I've never thought of that you could just, and people would sell it to you. You'd pay them $50 for a little bit of gas to get you out of it. That was smart. Hey, you're a smart lady.
So what did the guy? I mean, he had a bunch of cans under a bus.
Wow.
Well, he had it was like a Greyhound bus that had been turned into a RV.
Okay.
Okay, so then you got those big luggage containers under there, and looking back, the guy was a prepper. Okay,
Yeah, and
he had tons of stuff under there, and he was actually going to give me the gas, but he was going to give me the gas because I had a little kid with me, and he was a gentleman, and but I insisted that I paid him.
Nice.
I wonder if today anybody would be willing to sell you the gas, or people have changed. Society has changed, and we're not very kind to each other. And even a woman with a child, I wonder if anybody would be willing to sell that gallon of gas.
I bet you could find someone.
I bet you could.
Very good.
Hey,
I had half a tank.
Maybe one of these would help the situation.
No, that's not going to help.
That's a handgun. Sorry. That could help.
Well, the power was out. We were used to power outages. Nobody was alarmed or freaked out by the power being out. It was just. And I will say one thing though. I was really impressed with how well JSO handled the traffic jams because I knew the area, and I'll say they did awesome that day. I will never forget. They did an awesome job. They really did. The sheriff's office, they had the people in the right places to hand direct the traffic, and they really did a good job on that. So some things have been learned through hurricane evacs and stuff like that. So. They did a good job. But so anyway, that was my eye-opening thing because it was fresh on the I had kind of already started with 9/11, but that was more in the sense of keep some cash and have the food and all that. But I really wasn't like carrying it in the car with me. That part hadn't come about. It was at the house. I was prepping at home. But I didn't have the mobile preps, make sure you have some water and some food and a blanket and sunscreen and, things that you're going to need if you're going to walk home and that kind of thing. So,
Beth, you got a better story?
I don't, but.
Well, you got there, and were you prepping before 2017 when you got with PrepperNet, or did it start with PrepperNet?
No. So it started before. So like around Y2K, I wasn't worried. I was a software developer, and I didn't see the big concern with that. What was it about? 2003 was avian bird flu, and that was my first big freeze-dried food purchase. I think I got like a year's supply, and now that's 20 years old. And some of those cans, by the way, almost exploded. It had like flour products and the seams were just ready to burst. I had to get those to the dump. Anyway, then 9/11, I think, was a big awakening for me, not in terms of prepping, but it's when I really started looking outside of mainstream media for news and news in other countries and what's really going on and what am I being told. So that started my journey into research away from what the mainstream was telling me. And the more you learn about that, maybe the more concerned you become that civilization too is very fragile. I mean, there's just a fine line. What is it? What's your thing, Forrest? How many days to anarchy or something? How many meals?
9 meals.
Yeah, 9 meals.
Right.
UncleBuck watched that a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah, did you?
Good.
Okay, so
that's
I mean,
good.
that just shows you really how fragile civilization is.
Mm-hmm.
And so then there were things, prior to Y2K, Hurricane Hugo knocked my dad's power out for 3 weeks. So that was just kind of an interesting, Preppy will be right back.
Yeah.
Who would think that we're sitting here in Charlotte, we're going to lose our power for 3 weeks, but he did. Right. And then Hurricane Katrina comes along later in that timeline. And I watched that nonstop on the news for days. Where's FEMA? Where's the government? What's happening with people? What's happening in the that arena, that dome where they put people? And it was terrifying. And so if you ever want to kind of a little glimpse at how the government's not going to help you in certain scenarios and catastrophes, just watch that old footage. And the more you watch that, just the more you'll be convicted to be self-reliant in any way you can. And then being a mother in the first place is the whole what if when you're packing that diaper bag, right? So you're going on this car trip and you will pack. And Forrest knows I still pack that way today. You can't fit one more stick of gum in my
So this weekend she was going to a hike, and it was like a bug out bag hike, and her entire car was full. And I didn't see the car. I just knew that it was full. And I'm like, all you need is like I think she said her bag was like 25 pounds, but yet her entire car was full of stuff.
Gotta be ready. Gotta be ready.
What if? It's the what if. So ever since, you're responsible for that little child, and you don't know what you're going to need, the water and what if your car breaks down. Blah, blah. I think being a mother to begin with starts you on that prepper journey.
I totally see that.
Yeah,
totally see that. Like, I was thinking about that before we got on. Like, I was like, every soccer mom out there is a prepper because they're always forward planning on what is going to happen. What if Timmy spills his stuff all over himself? What if he, gets an alley? What's his pants? Like, you're always forward planning in case something goes south, particularly when you're in that early stage of you gotta feed the kid, right? You always have to forward plan. So I think it's like instinctual.
Right.
Well, dads, we just think, what are we going to eat? Take care of number one,
What I found, and I know some other women have this too, is that, you start with the diaper bag, you've got the babies, and then at some point the kids are growing up and you're still carrying diaper bag stuff in your purse or in your car, and it's for your husband now. It's because the guys become dependent on us having my hands are yucky. Do you have some of those wipes? Or do you have a Band-Aid? Do you have an aspirin? Do you have
my diaper's full.
As we become preppers, we quit carrying a diaper bag for the kids and we start carrying one for our spouse.
Have you seen the tactical? I think it's called like the tactical baby bag. Have you seen those?
No.
It's made for dads. It's like it's got mollies on it and the whole nine. I mean, it looks sweet. It's a good play to get guys into the dads into carrying all the stuff for the baby because it looks pretty cool. I mean, you could probably put some other stuff in there.
Green bag with little bunnies on it. You don't like that?
No.
Yeah.
I carried it though. I carried it for a number of years.
My wife still carries an extra pair of underwear for me everywhere we go. No, I'm kidding.
You never know.
Oh goodness!
I still carry, that extra change of clothes in the car left over from the kid might throw up on you, and you might need a change of clothes.
So we had a Honda Odyssey, and the Odyssey, had the video and all that, but underneath the right behind the driver and passenger, there was like this under the floor compartment, and you lift it up, and there was a lot of room in there. And every time I would just stuff that thing with things, prepping stuff, but had a bug out bag in there, had water, blankets, like the Mylar blankets or whatever they're called, space blankets. I had all that stuff and knife. And after when we finally were selling that and getting a new vehicle, I'm pulling this stuff out, and some of that stuff was in there a long time, and everybody's looking at me going, what the heck do you have? Everyone kind of forgets it because the floor mats kind of, if you know what I'm talking about, it kind of covers it up. You don't even know it's there. And and then as I was bringing out, one of my kids would go, hey, I need that in my car. And I'm like, oh, here, you can take that in your car, just passing things out. But it was packed full. The sad thing is, well, I think my wife knew that it was there, but we never really had to use it. But it was just in case.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's my motto. I live by that, just in case. Or what if?
But Beth, sorry, PrepperNet Patty, let me write that time down. Hang on, I'll write it down. 28, 37. I can delete that. I can delete
I
it.
even
So
trying?
I don't know. So, but your trunk, your car.
Yes.
let me just ask a question.
Okay.
Could you fit, let me think of something, another go bag in the trunk of your car right now?
Well, look.
No, you can't, because it's full.
No,
Because everywhere you go, you take about 300 pounds of equipment with you.
But you know what? But I've got some empty go bags in there. Some of those Eddie Bauer fold-up bags. Because
If you can't fit anything else in the car, it doesn't matter.
Hold on. Let me finish.
It's for dead bodies, isn't it?
No, it's not for dead bodies. So let's say you're in a situation and you needed to leave your car with as much gear as you needed, and depending on the situation, there's different gear that you need. And let's say I had somebody with me, or the next car down I was going to team up with. I've got empty bags. I can stuff the stuff in those bags, say, carry this, carry that. And all of a sudden we've got a team of people carrying some of that 300 pounds of stuff in my trunk.
Same thing. I bought mine at IKEA. They're these little duffel bags that are like made out of nylon with nylon straps, and they're tougher than they look. And I paid like $5 for them or $6. And I carried one all the way through Japan, through airports, everything. And I actually wore it as a backpack with the 2 hoop handles some of the time when I was going, because we bought too much stuff at the beginning of the trip and had to move it from, when we changed cities. And so I was in the airport or the train stations carrying this plus my little rolling suitcase, and, and it worked, it made it all the way on that trip. And I actually sent it home through the airport luggage system, and it didn't break open or anything. And, it did its job. It was that emergency overflow bag. And,
those blue Mylar are not, I don't think they're Mylar, whatever, the IKEA bags, they're famous, and they've got the straps you can carry it on your back.
No, this wasn't that. This was actual a duffel that zipped shut, and it had the straps going all the way around it.
The duffels with the straps that carried us through 4 years of moving my daughter in and out of college. Those things are indestructible, and they pack flat and stuff them in your car.
Yeah, I use those for
Buck. Y'all need that.
I think I have one in my attic. I don't know how it even got there, but it's there.
Well, so if I finish my timeline.
Mine are yellow. Are yours yellow? No, I'm kidding.
No, mine are blue.
Mine are too. I was kidding.
So by the time COVID came around, and I had everything. There was not a moment of panic. I had masks, food, toilet paper, everything.
We called her the TP Queen.
I can barter TP.
A new nickname, new call sign. Yeah, I think because you guys clearly were a lot of the game than I was, because I think it was COVID was my tipping point where I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is happening right now? Even with the news, I think you mentioned earlier, Beth, about not paying attention to mainstream media back in the early 2000s. I was oblivious to it. I was just kind of, all right, I do my thing. I go to work and watch some stuff, watch sports. Didn't pay any attention to any of the subliminal stuff. Didn't pay attention to the narratives. None of it. I was kind of clueless.
Viruses are my thing. So I was like, as soon as bing, there's a new virus, I was like, and so I was on I was prepping for COVID. I was already prepped, but I was doing specific extra, topping certain things off with COVID in mind, starting in December, like before Christmas, of 19. So that's like, that was like, yeah, this is it. I thought this is it. This is going to be like Ebola, and then it wasn't, but I'm really happy it wasn't. And I was, but yeah, I was kind of prepped for the potential of a virus ever since the bird flus and the Ebola and all that stuff.
We had this. I remember this is when I was still Navy, and we were going to do a drill, and I want to say it was like December 2020, and we were getting feedback on, hey, this could be potentially bad. Like, where are we going to put people in quarantine? on bases and then kind of quarantine them, but it can't really be due to the optics. It can't be like you're putting them against a will. There kind of has to be some that we're looking at Air Force bases because there's a lot more amenities. There's pools, there's a gym, there's all this other stuff there. There's golf courses, you know.
Of course there is.
Of course there's great galleys, great everything. They got all the good stuff. But we were talking about that stuff, and I'm like, then that was kind of like my eye opener, like because you're in this room and you're chit chatting with folks. You're like, what is going on right now? What is getting ready to hit us here? And then nothing really transpired until, really a couple months later, 2-3 months later, then like March, then it was like, okay.
That would have been coming. That would have been December of 19. Yeah. Rolling into 20.
Oh, December 19. Yep. December 19.
Well, I never really thought a pandemic would actually happen. I really didn't. That was probably low down on my list. But when it happened, my son was over in France when President Trump shut down the borders. My son was in France. He got home. We quarantined him. It was so weird because you read the stories, you study about pandemics, but I would think a financial collapse would happen before that. But we learned, we were prepared in all the other areas. And so we were good to go. I was texting all my friends and, hey, go to the grocery store, get all the food you can. And they're like, why? And then later they go, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I don't have to go out there because you didn't know. I mean, if it was serious, it would have been crazy. But this one, I don't know. The pandemic. Oh, we can't say that, can we?
Yeah, we can say pandemic. Say it.
We can say it. So, PrepperNet Patty, will you finish with your timeline? Every time you say something, it keys us and we just go off and start talking.
Well, I don't remember what my timeline was. Somewhere in there was Venezuela, and that was their collapse. I had already started prepping them, but that told me this is the reality that can hit. A very wealthy nation can find themselves everyday people eating out of garbage dumps. And that probably is what drives me the most, is like the thing that I think would be most likely could happen other than a pandemic that we've already had, is collapse and everything that goes along with that economic collapse. So then I do the whole, Uncle Buck, I wanted to ask you this. So I do the whole, don't let your gas tank get below a half. Did I hear you say one time that you don't let it get below like 3/4 of a tank?
It's usually 3/4. Yeah, I usually just go to 3/4.
He drives every 8 miles. He stops and gets gas.
I stop. Wow. I'm driving a tank. Usually, I try to go 3/4. It's not all the time. I mean, sometimes it dips below half. I mean, definitely the half is like no, because there's been too many issues with we had what was the gas company here in North Carolina that got malware. I can't remember what happened. It was some kind of cyber attack, and it was shut down until they paid money. The ransomware. So that was crazy. You couldn't get anything. So folks that were on fumes, I mean, there's no trailers or no nice gentleman with a bus that was going to give me gasoline. So
right.
You got to make sure you're prepared in advance.
Yeah. And then, so just being a part of PrepperNet all that time, I think back in 2016-ish or 17, I went to this, I started feeling for all the reasons I told you, I started feeling this urge and this calling that I needed to prepare for my family. And I found this expo type place up in Concord and went to it. And there was this interesting man sitting at a PrepperNet table. It was Dave Wolf.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Poor Dave.
He was an awesome.
Yeah, he passed away. So.
He did. And he was a bigger than life person in PrepperNet. Anyway, he said, well, there's Garvin's talking over in booth number B. Go hear him. So I go in there and there's this crazy nutty guy telling everybody they're going to die. You're going to die.
Sounds right. Sounds about right.
And then he picks on me in the audience.
I do.
He picked on me. Where do you live? So it turns out, we live near each other. And he proceeded to just pick on me, use me as the example in the whole class of what not to do and how she's going to die. And
she died 3 times.
he needs to come to Jonathan's and go to the meetups, and that's it from there.
So what was I was doing survival groups or something?
I think you were doing, at the time I was so new, I didn't even know that phrase. So I think in hindsight, that's what you were talking about.
You were just starstruck. I understand.
Oh, yeah. That was a red flag right there. This man was picking on me in the audience. Does anybody see a pattern like 6-7 years later?
Were you the only one in the audience?
No.
No.
But
Okay.
Who walked by was Mother Goose, and she was decked out in those 511 pants. She had a ham radio strapped to her side, a gun, and she was just all that.
Rootin' tootin'.
You're like, there goes Mother Goose.
Oh, I said that?
Yes.
Okay.
You told everybody that she's more prepared than anybody you know.
Wow.
So what is it? We got talking. So we were on the camp trip this weekend, and Saturday night, we ended up getting into a conversation around the what if scenarios, right? So we're like, everybody, we're going to go around, like, what is your what if? Like, you're preparing for something, right? I mean, we're all preparing for stuff, a snowstorm, power outage, stuff like that. But like, what is like that big defining event that you think will occur? Like, what do you think is that next big domino to fall? I was just curious to hear a lot of people's response, but Preppy Squirrel, I don't know. Did you answer that question?
I left ahead of that. I left ahead of that conversation. So I left about the time right after we had seen Bigfoot.
Beth loves Bigfoot. Beth loves some Bigfoot.
Forrest doesn't know yet that we saw Bigfoot, but that's okay. That's another.
I'm sorry. Okay, so I left after we had seen Bigfoot, and then I needed to come on home, and so I was also thinking that we would see financial issues prior to a pandemic. I thought that was more likely than a pandemic, although pandemics were kind of like on my radar because I was like, cool viruses, But anyway, so.
Cool.
I was a biology major. I was planning on playing with diseases, so or studying them and trying to work with diseases and stuff like that. But anyhow, life took another turn, and that's okay. But so economic collapse, and that's still, I think, high on my list because like, for example, I saw 2008 happening like years in advance. And it was so obvious to me what was going on. I was delivering paperwork for all those bad transactions during the late 90s in the early 2000s. And I could see that, these people, I saw where people had bought a home, foreclosed. I delivered their foreclosing paperwork or, their legal stuff from one law firm. And then I'm seeing, I'm delivering stuff to the same house where they're buying another house 2 years later. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. So, that was just on the ground intel. That was human intelligence, that this isn't logical to me. This is going to all fall apart. This is a Ponzi scheme, or, it's just not stable. So I went ahead and took advantage of the high real estate market. And it was very beneficial to my family to make those changes, because we had changes on the horizon. I won't go into all that, but it had to do with my husband's health and everything. And so we capitalized on the difference from one real estate market to another. We left a very hot real estate market, came to one that was very depressed, and that worked out well for us. So anyhow, the same things that I was seeing then, a lot of those haven't been corrected. And I think we're now in like another circle of escalation that's going to cause another fall. And I'm very pessimistic about this country's economic future. So that's my number one area of concern.
I could see that.
And with that, but with that, there's other realms of prepping, that come under that, that'll be fall on effects,
Mhm.
What do you think is that the ultimate trigger, right? Because economic collapse, it's like it's so broad. I mean,
Sure.
I'm thinking real estate bubble, inflation, a war. I mean, there's a bunch of things that can trigger it off.
We have a lot of bubbles. We have so many simultaneous bubbles. Okay. And I think we have a lot of deflationary pressure or something. And we deserve a lot more inflation than we're seeing. Okay.
Mhm.
And I think at some point, those deflationary pressures are going to give way to inflation. And that would be a more pleasant version of what could happen. It's my understanding. I don't know a lot about economics actually, but it's my understanding that if the dollar is no longer used to trade fuel as the primary thing, that could have a great impact on the value of it. And I think I'm seeing countries around the world kind of aligning with each other to maybe quit using the dollar. At least that's the rumors you hear on the news. I don't know if they're true. So with that in mind, I'm kind of wondering if, our dollar is going to be worth a whole lot less very quickly at some point. And so that's kind of where my brain is how can I make things easier for us if all of a sudden my buying power is cut in half? What can I do to, reduce the amount of cash that I need?
Agreed. So there's the term, it's called BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and Saudi Arabia. Those countries are definitely trying to move away from the petrodollar, right? They want to move more to the yuan, right? It would probably be where they'd go. I mean, it could be something else, but they definitely don't want to be on the US dollar. So if that occurs, we just printed a truckload, and like by truckload, I mean like a lot of truckloads of dollars that are not going to have a home. Then you got these, I think I got somewhere up there, I got the Bank of Iraq with Saddam Hussein's picture on it. And I think it was like a $25,000 bill. I mean, you might be able to get like a couple pieces of rice with that. I mean, it's completely worthless now, but you can see how that devaluation of the currency can happen overnight.
I have a stack of bills that I bought off of eBay as gag gifts one Christmas, and they're like $200 billion bills or something like that. They're Zimbabwe.
There's a
trillion. What is that?
This is $1 billion.
$1 billion.
$1 billion.
And I bought a stack of them off of eBay for like $7, and I gave them out as like gag gifts at Christmas. And
also have this.
That's a gold one, yeah.
The gold dollar.
Yeah.
And I keep one around just to remind me, of how worthless money can be.
Mm-hmm.
And there's and my mindset is, lay up your treasures in heaven and that kind of thing. And that's part of my motivation for prepping as well is, if I have a big pantry full of stuff and then somebody that I know is without a job and, how am I going to feed my kids this week? It doesn't cost me anything to take care of that, that kind of thing. And
right.
so, that's part of it too, There's not just the big thing; it's the little prepping, and that's the thing is, for me, as being a prepper, it's not just, cataclysmic, world-changing events. I also try to prep for, it's like, some single mom that I knew, okay, her husband wrecked her car before he left town, left her with 5 kids, and going and putting a new radiator in her car so it can work. That's part of why I prep, that kind of stuff.
Beth, what's your answer to that? I mean, let me write that number. What's your answer to that?
PrepperNet Patty.
I'm going to edit that out.
You were economics too, weren't you, Beth? Weren't you?
So around the campfire that night. And by the way, of these 4 people, one does not belong with the others. Do we know who that is? 3 of us were hiking and camping and working on our physical fitness.
Yeah.
One of us was not. But anyway,
I don't understand what you're saying.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up.
Sesame Street reference, which thing does not belong. So yeah, my answer that night was economic collapse, and I don't. And again, I just go back to Venezuela. Fraudulent elections followed by economic collapse, and I don't understand why we haven't already, and that COVID didn't bring us to our knees. That's just still blowing me away. So
let me ask you ladies this. You're going to start a podcast. So what are some topics? What's the podcast going to be like? Is it going to be totally for females? Is it going to be open to everyone? What's some of the topics, or talk about your podcast?
Go, Preppy.
Well, I think we're going to bring some guests on and interview them, and with certain, we'll address different topics with different guests, obviously, But I think one of the things we'll focus on are some of the aspects of prepping that appeal more to women, or maybe we're better suited to think about. But I think. We all still believe there's a difference between men and women, on average, and I think women are, going to be more interested in some aspects of prepping that might not get as much airtime on, in a male, typically male interest area, so we'll be able to address some of those areas with some of the
guns, bazookas, hand grenades.
I think Uncle Buck identifies as a female.
This morning I did. I switched right before this call. Now I'm a frog. I identify as a frog now.
Yeah, so but it's I think a lot of the prepping content will, often focuses on areas that, women are left thinking, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And, they're not actually addressed. And, I think we'll be able to touch on some of those.
PrepperNet Patty, what do you think?
Well, so we are a member of PrepperNet Sisterhood. And through that, we know so many amazing women. And I'd like to bring quite a few of those on, because they all have different specialty areas and things that maybe the men don't think about. Like if you are raising special needs children, what are some of the extra things you have to think about in that respect? And so we've got, Preppy and I were talking about it, just a lot of, I think, fascinating people to bring on that everybody will gain a lot of knowledge from, to hear how they're approaching prepping with their different family situations. So
this sisterhood thing, is this something that I can get on and listen to?
So we have blocked and banned Forrest Garvin from the sisterhood group.
All guys.
And all guys.
All guys. So it's a girl only kind of thing.
Put them in the green room.
It's girl only, and we once a week we'll talk about this in one of our podcasts, but we have a weekly Zello net, which is a method of talking to women across the country, and we'll have a topic of discussion. And sometimes those discussions are still going on at midnight. Sometimes there's things going on in each other's lives that we help each other with. And it's more than just prepping. I mean, that's the primary goal, but it's also just support for each other. And
it's
so Uncle Buck, we need to start manhood, secret society of men. I'm kidding, but I do understand, because you blocked me, and and it was pretty. They didn't want me a part of it, which I understand. But there, as you look at all the podcasts, as I was just scrolling down the podcast on my phone that I subscribe to, a man's perspective on a lot of this stuff is, hey, it's guns, beans, and ammo. I mean, that's it. Everything starts from there. But a lady's perspective, it could be, you guys could start from there, but you guys would definitely fork and go into different areas that we don't even think about.
Well, like I would guess that most of the women in the sisterhood, PrepperNet sisterhood, have at least one can of baby formula in their pantry, whether they have babies or not. Okay. That's because that's the difference. You know, men would be like, I don't have a kid, you know, on average, you know, and I think most of the women probably have a can of formula or stuff to make formula with.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, so there's going to be different areas where, you know, the thinking is going to vary and what to prep and, you know, and I think a lot of the guys, they tend to, you know, have more of a military type mindset of, you know, just the basics, tough it out, you know, this kind of thing. And, you know, we know better. We know it's
true.
You know.
Yeah. Like you said,
So
men and women think differently, but we need it all.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Wow.
I'm trading the baby formula in for steak.
Yeah.
Exactly what I'm doing.
Like, hey, honey, you know all that baby formula? I traded in and got these steaks.
I got a T-bone. It's all good.
Yeah, and it might be a barter item, but it's just the thing is though, is I think most of us probably have at least one can sitting there, you know, waiting in case, you know, it gets donate it and you get another one. And, you know, if it gets close to out of date, you put it, you know, that kind of thing. They're just, you know, an umbrella is a prep, you know, an umbrella.
So
I got one in my trunk.
So for will the ladies' night be on Prepping Academy, or is it going to be an independent voice, an independent medium, or will it all be on Prepping Academy on the same channel? Just
then we could listen to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there.
No, it's the ladies' night is a Zello net, right?
Well, I think Uncle Buck is asking about our podcast.
About the podcast.
Yeah. Yes, it's going to be so. 1 week, you'll hear Uncle Buck and I every week, and every now and then you'll hear, and we'll sound like females. Gosh, you'll be going, Uncle Buck, man, what happened? No, so yes, it'll be released on our channel. I mean, if they were going to do more than one a month, then we could, you know, hook them up and get them their own channel. But right now they're going to test it out and try it out. And you never know. They could be the next famous podcast women, which, I can't name any except Owens. What's her name?
Candace Owens.
It could be the next Candace Owens. And then my wife could have a T-shirt with your name on it, like she has now with Candace. Anyway, I'm the only one laughing at my jokes at this point. Well, awesome. That is so let me ask you, ladies, when is your first podcast going to hit the bookshelf? I mean, hit the radio airwaves? Yeah, and what's the topic? Putting you on the spot.
We're going to have to get some of the guests lined up, and then it'll kind of flow with that. What we plan to do is maybe try to, you know, get that lined up, and then, you know, then we'll
Okay.
We'll try to record something in the next week or two, and then as often as you want to slide them into the Prepping Academy, you can. We'll stack some up for you.
Okay. That sounds good. Well, Uncle Buck, you got anything else to?
No, I think we're good. This is good. This is great. It was good getting to hear your stories and kind of your triggering moments to get you to start prepping and some of the different scenarios and some creative stuff too. Preppy Squirrel, like super creative, getting gasoline from an RV place. That is brilliant.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. So we will be dropping their podcast in our stream. So it'll just show up. So listen to all of Uncle Buck and mine until then. And then all of a sudden you'll be surprised and you'll go, whoo. So, hey, thank you guys for coming on and being with us. We're going to drop you down to the green room Uncle Buck and I will. But hey, thank you.
Yeah,
All right, well,
thank you.
thanks for
Thank
having
you
us
too.
on.
This is awesome.
Looking
Thank you all.
forward to it. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you guys. Wow, I'm looking forward to that. You know,
It's gonna be good.
they blocked me out. Maybe they'll let me listen to their podcast at least.
You got the Heisman Trophy stiff arm right away.
Right. So, anything else going on we need to discuss before we close this out? It's getting
Let's it's getting late. Let's pray us out and
Okay.
we'll get rolling, man. You wanna do it or you want me to?
I'll do it.
All right,
Okay.
man. All right.
Hey, everybody, thanks for listening. This is the preppingacademy.com. Tell your friends and subscribe. Give us a 5-star, and let's go to the Lord in prayer. Gracious Lord, we just thank you for this evening, Lord. Lord, we just ask you to bless all that we're doing in your name, Lord. We're just spreading love and by sharing our knowledge. And Lord, we thank you for that. Thank you for all that you've given us, Lord. I pray for all the people listening, Lord, that that they'll lift up their prayers to you, Lord, and rely and trust on you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, everyone, you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Prepping Academy podcast. Preppers Unite at www.preppingacademy.com.
Has your data been hacked? Do you feel uneasy about the vulnerability of your personal information online? Were you involved in the Target, LinkedIn, or Microsoft data leaks? Don't know? If not, then pay attention. Join Forrest Garvin from PrepperNet for a free webinar on privacy and security. Gain insights into safe internet browsing, VPNs, crafting online aliases, secure emails, detecting if your data has been hacked, and managing passwords. Secure your spot today for this webinar on privacy and security. It's free. This webinar delves into comprehensive strategies for bolstering your online privacy. We've got you covered, from fortifying your passwords to shielding your financial information and mastering state-of-the-art encryption techniques. We're offering 2 convenient dates to suit your schedule. Reserve your spot now at preppernet.com/privacy. Don't let cyber threats erode your peace of mind any longer. Take the first step toward a safer, more secure online experience by joining us for our free webinar. Remember, knowledge is power when it comes to safeguarding your privacy. Sign up now at preppernet.com/privacy. We'll see you there.